of days until the AP Calculus BC exam. 5, the grade you will receive on the exam if you do exactly what I tell you. 5, the number of fingers on my hand. Whatever. Isaac Newton is not Socrates, but he said, I am an Athenian or a Greek, but not a citizen of the world. I have faith that each and every one of you can score a 5 on this exam based on your dedication and for making me look good. So I will give you an incentive. I'll take each and every one of you on a trip to Wichita, Kansas. To Disney World.
Yep. I'm going to Disney World.
It took us a few moments to realize we weren't going to make it to Disney World. At least not this year. Not together. This trip wasn't about fulfilling some childhood fantasy of making it to that place of wonder, but rather the thought of knowing that we would be rewarded for the calculus we learned, the calculus we all know so well. It was the ultimate sign of gratitude. Likely above Mr. G's pay grade, but you know, he offered, so we should accept it. Anyway, that trip isn't going to be happening because of Robert Fisher, the son of North Councilman Maurice Fisher, the youngest member in a family of Ivy League offspring and exceedingly high expectations. At the start of the year, it seemed as though Robert was on his way to fulfilling those sky-high expectations, but what none of us knew was that there is in fact a sickness to calculus, a sickness Robert so severely contracted. Limits, derivatives, EVT, MVT, L'Hopital's rule, integrals, Taylor series. None of it seemed to stick. Test after test, chapter after chapter, Robert simply failed. To make things worse, Maul, a student who was once in our class but transferred a mere 2 months before the AP exam, constantly taunted Robert for his failures.
Guys, you do realize this trip isn't happening, right?
Don't say that. There has to be a way to help Robert.
Electroconvulsion shock therapy?
Or we could just make him disappear. Accidents happen.
No. What is wrong with you? There has to be a logical way for us to guarantee that he can get a 5.
Inception. Is it possible?
Of course not.
If you can steal an idea from someone's mind, why can't you plant one there instead?
Okay, here's me planting an idea in your head. I say to you, don't think about elephants. What are you thinking about?
Elephants.
Right, but it's not your idea because you know I gave it to you. The subject's mind can always trace the genesis of the idea. True inspiration's impossible to fake.
It's not true.
You know what? I think we can do this.
Good. but from now on, you guys must address me as Dom Cobb. Bernardo, you're Arthur. Victoria, you're Ariadne. Demetrius, you're Eames. Cindy, you're Miss Yusuf. Stalin, you're Mr. Saito. Let's go to Disney World. What's the most resilient parasite? A bacterium? A virus? I'll tell you. An idea. Resilient. Highly contagious. Once it's in the brain, it can never be taken away. A person can cover it up. It can be ignored, but it never goes away.
I think I see where you're going with this. The idea of getting a 5 on the AP Calc BC exam, that's what you're saying we should plan?
Sound plan, but you can't just tell someone to get a 5 on an exam solely based on knowledge. That's like trying to find the antiderivative of a function that requires integration by parts without prior knowledge of integration by parts. You know, I mean, wouldn't it be nice, but...
Yes, that's exactly right. Our main goal is to establish an idea, but it has to be entirely self-generated. Our plan is to establish one idea, or a few of them, to guarantee that he scores a 5 on the AP exam.
Right, so we develop a multi-stage dream to not only teach him, but also inspire him through each level.
So we have to influence him both analytically, all the calculus in the BC exam, and emotionally, with genuine inspiration.
Correct. If we're going to pull this off, we're going to need to know the ins and outs of Robert's relationships. Who affected his calculus skills the most? I have a feeling that it might be Mold, but Eames, you have to give me a detailed report on this situation.
I'm on it. If I'm correct, I follow on Twitter still. I can torch you.
We're making progress here. Arthur, you're the researcher. Why don't you go over the analytics of this mission?
Right, so I've been able to identify the key concepts.
Okay, so read them off.
First we have L'Hopital's rule. Next we have U substitution integration and integration by parts. And finally determining whether a series converges or diverges using the ratio test.
Simple enough. So if I understand correctly, if Robert masters each of these concepts in the dream, everything else should come logically so that he understands the rest of the test, right?
Bingo, I should mention that we need a 3-layer dream, or a dream within a dream within a dream. Each layer will encompass one of the 3 basic topics we just talked about. I recommend that we start with the most simplest topic first, L'Hopital's rule, then integration, and finally converging and diverging series.
You heard that, Ariadne? You're gonna have to make 3 separate dream structures. Don't worry, they don't have to be too specific, because the mind makes its own dream structures through the subconscious. You're going to need to survey the sites so that we get the accurate representations for the testing location. I'll help you along the way.
Okay, this all sounds very thought out and plausible and stuff, but how are we gonna sustain a dream within a dream within a dream? Isn't that really unstable?
Thanks for bringing that up. Miss Yusuf, can you come up with the exact rate at which the sleep serum needs to be delivered in order to maximize our mission? Great, but we all have jobs to do, so let's get to it. We'll rendezvous at the time of the summer solstice. Monday after class. Ariadne, you'll have to come up with specific problems that Fisher will be solving within each level of the dream. Keep in mind the BC exam is by no means easy, so we'll have to keep it complicated. Show me what you can do. No, this is too easy.
Okay. This one requires that you find volume.
Still too easy, Ariadne. Come on.
Fine, okay.
Take it off.
Infinite area. This is more like it. We have to replicate the testing site exactly as is. That means everything has to be the way it is now. The drawings on the board, the number of chairs here, even the time on the broken clock.
How can I possibly replicate this much amount of detail?
Well, obviously, it doesn't have to be specific. It just has to be as close as possible.
As close as possible is specific.
Mole. Simply winning. Okay, it works. What do we have here? Calculus. Business Insider. 100% sure that I will dream integrals tonight. It's very fitting. It's very fitting. Robert Fisher. I never fail, I just don't always succeed. Oh, great choice of words there, Robert. Why does she always taunt me? Why can't she love me? February 19th. I believe that's when Mole was in our class. This tweet is about her. He doesn't hate her. Bloody heck, he's in love with her. Oh my god.
So guys, what do we have here?
Guys, I've been meaning to tell you this since last Saturday. He's in love with her. Love in her.
Come again? Who's in love with who?
I'm so very sorry. Robert was, and likely still is, in love with Mole. I guess in a way, Mole's constant taunting equated to love as opposed to hatred. We play on Robert's emotional responses and vulnerabilities and transform it into a feeling of positive emotional response. Take in mind, positive emotional response always trumps negative emotional response, right? Correct? So, from there, I become Mole to Robert, effectively creating an emotional response that inspires him to complete the task at hand.
Fantastic job, Eames. So over the weekend, I was able to compile a specific research plan to conduct this whole Inceptulus idea. So first, we have to place him in a tense situation, likely more pressure than the test itself, just to be sure. We need to put him in a situation where he's with Mole, but we all know that Mole is really Eames. But the only way he'll feel safe and he'll be able to get with Mole is if he solves L'Hôpital's rule. So we have to do that. Next, we move on to the second level of the dream. If Robert responds as predicted, then we should be able to put a level of confidence in him that will allow him to solve harder problems, of course. So what we have to do is, we have to put him in a position of power where we're actually his students and he's the teacher. That way he'll learn the materials better than if he was just a passive student.
I think I see where you're going with this. We ask him specific questions related to integration, and since he thinks that he's a teacher, he'll be able to answer them easily. So we're basically tricking him into learning something he already knows. It's actually quite brilliant.
Thank you, Arthur, but you're the brilliant one. Anyway, last but of course not least, we have the third and final layer of the dream. By this point, you should really be confident with the exam, but just to make sure, this part of the dream has to take place in the room itself. So Ariadne is going to recreate the room. The test is going to be taken on Wednesday. So the way that we're going to finally prepare him is we're going to have him solve the last open-ended question, the convergence and divergent part of the series. If he gets this answer right, then we've successfully guaranteed that he gets a 5.
What if he gets the problem?
I've been trying to avoid this. But essentially, the mind can't handle a wrong answer. The continuous mental search for a correct answer that isn't there is an infinite, exhausting process.
So like brain damage?
Oh, and I forgot to mention one last thing. We're gonna need a kick on each level.
It's that feeling of falling you get that jolts you awake. It snaps you out of the dream.
Are we gonna feel a kick with this kind of sedation?
Oh, that's the clever part. I customized the sedative to leave inner ear function unimpaired. That way, however deep the sleeper still feels falling. Or tipping.
The trick is to synchronize a kick that can penetrate all 3 levels.
We could use the musical countdown to synchronize the different kicks.
Okay, this briefing is over. The real thing is happening the night before the exam, so be ready tomorrow.
We could tell Robert that we're having an AP exam relaxation at my house, and then we could mix his drink with sleep serum, and then we can administer the sleep serum as Yusuf prepared to everyone so that we can effectively share the drink.
That's a great idea. So if anyone else has any more questions, see me at my locker. If not, I'm gonna have to catch up on Game of Thrones now. So I'll see you guys.
You guys, he's here!
He's here. Act natural.
Oh, hey, Robert. Everyone's here.
Hey, how's it going, Robert?
Thanks, Mommy.
I'd like to propose a toast to a year well spent. Not to say that it all comes down to tomorrow, but technically it does all come down to tomorrow. Anyway, I hope all of your dreams come true. ahead. This is our cue. Look, everyone grab one and attach it to your mane. Calm down, calm down, calm down, right? There. stay calm, you don't get hurt. I'm gonna ask you a few questions, so answer them carefully. Do you listen? What's your name?
Robert Fisher.
Okay, Mr. Fisher. What do you want to be when you grow up?
That doesn't matter anymore.
Answer the question! Now listen. It doesn't matter what happened back then. And it doesn't matter when you're staring down the middle knuckle of the fist. Now answer the question. Who do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a teacher.
Good, Mr. Fisher. Now, I have one final question. But just remember, the sole outcome of this situation depends on you. You have the power, you have the knowledge.
Mom, what are you doing here?
Robert, save me. You have to help me. Do what they say. Save me, save me.
Save her? What was the question?
Solve this problem.
The limit does not exist.
Are you sure about that?
Wait, it does exist. This equals to infinity over infinity, which would confuse anyone, but this is in indeterminate form. Therefore, you could use L'Hopital's rule. Now this would be 8x plus 5 divided by 2e to the 2x plus 9x squared as the limit as x approaches infinity. Now, this is still infinity over infinity. Now, as we use L'Hopital's rule again, this is 8 over 2e to the 2x plus 18. This is 4, my fault. 4 times x as the limit as x approaches infinity, which now that equals to 0. The limit as x approaches infinity is 0.
Correct, Mr. Fisher. You have successfully saved this girl.
Thank you, Robert. You're my hero.
Alright, second level. Let's go. Everybody grab a wire. Second level.
Mr. Fisher, I have a question.
So since F net equals ma, and there's a force going 57 units in this direction, and another force going 57 units in this direction, what is the net force applied? Yes, sir.
Mr. Fisher, there's this concept I don't quite understand. Do you mind explaining it to me?
Certainly, let's see. Then we have a problem over here. Yes. Okay, so the problem state, it's the integral of 2x times sine of x squared dx, right? So this is a simple u substitution problem where you let u equal to x squared. Now you take the derivative of both sides, and then you transfer the dx onto this side. So that's the u equals to 2x times dx. Now you solve for dx, and then you get dx is equal to the u over 2x. Now you use substitution to substitute it here, which should give you the integral of 2x times the sine of x squared times du, u times du over 2x. Now the 2x's cancel out and you're left with the integral of sine of u du. And that's a simple integral problem, which is equal to negative cosine of u plus c. Now we substituted u into cosine of u, which is equal to negative cosine of x squared plus c. So is that clear? Any other questions?
Wow, you explained it so well, Mr. Fisher. Thanks.
Mr. Fisher, I don't really understand integration by parts. Can you explain that for me?
Come on, guys, I can do this in my sleep. So now, let's see. This problem right here. Now the problem is the integral of x times e to the negative x dx. So this is a simple by parts problem where you let u equal to x and then you let dv equal to e to the negative x dx. Now you differentiate this to get the u is equal to the x, and you integrate this to get v equals to negative e to the negative x dx. No, just e to the negative. So now you use the equation x e to the negative x dx, which would that equal to uv minus the integral of v du, which is now these two multiply, which is e negative x to e to the negative x. You substitute in those two, which is plus the integral of e to the negative x dx. Now, simplify, you integrate this, which is negative e to the negative x. Now you combine like terms, and you get negative e to the negative x of x plus 1, and don't forget the plus c.
Thanks, Mr. Fisher. That really helped.
Sure.
Sorry, Mr. Fisher. Can you come look at my paper? I think I made an error somewhere.
Sure, let me see.
Quick, everybody grab a wire.
Okay, guys, this is the last level of the dream. I'm not the exact replica of the testing state, and when we get there, there's only going to be 8 minutes until the BC exam finishes. But we can't help Robert on this one. He's on his own.
I'm going to stay back and administer the paper.
Integral of fx is so much easier. Last problem. Damn, ratio test. Okay, so The sum from n equals 1 to infinity of n plus 2 divided by n times n plus 1. Okay, so what were the prerequisites? I think if the ratio was less than 1, less than or equal to 1, it converges. And if it was greater than 1, then it diverges. Yeah, there we go. I think that was it, yeah.
Oh my god. Sorry about that. You got it wrong.
He knows the way. This wasn't supposed to happen.
That's the problem with testing for convergence and divergence. It's so abstract, so easy to mess up.
Was it supposed to happen this way? He's gonna have a permanent brain damage when he's supposed to world anymore.
Okay, guys, I know how to get him out of this unconsciousness. Genuine inspiration. Eames, you think Mole is in love with him, right? That he's in love with her? Okay. She's the only person that can bring him back. She can inspire him to come back. It's like a kickstart back to his real consciousness.
So you're saying Eames is gonna have to go into Robert's subconscious? Isn't that kind of dangerous?
I'll do it. We made this.
Maul, what are you doing here?
The better question is, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm just...
Exactly. Don't you have a test to take?
Oh, that's right, the BC exam. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna take that.
Shh, I don't want to hear anything negative. Sure, I scored higher than you on Mr. G's exam. Sure, I occasionally rubbed it in, literally. But on May 7th, none of that matters. You know the material, so do it. Not for the class, not for Mr. G, not even for me, but for you. Let's go get that 5.
You're right.
Oh, Robert. Remember, when using the ratio test, the series converges if L is less than 1, diverges if L is greater than 1, and the test is inconclusive if it's equal to 1.
Got it, let's do this.
It's time for the kick.
regarding AP Calculus BC class, this test site is under construction, so unfortunately we had to move you all here to this exam. Alright? I'm going to pass out papers, and at the appropriate time, you will